She stood on my driveway, waving a bright yellow paper in the air like it was the law itself, screaming that I owed $3,500 in HOA fines and would be removed if I didn't T-pay. She yelled so loud the neighbors peeked out their windows, curious, while my wife calmly watered her roses as if nothing was happening, which only drove Karen mad. Furious, she pulled out her phone, and within minutes 2 squad cars rolled in with sirens. And she ran to them, pointing at me like I was a criminal, demanding I be arrested for trespassing and refusing HOA orders. The officers looked confused but tried to keep professional until Karen shoved the paper at them like it was proof, insisting I be cuffed immediately. The officer frowned at the fake notice, saying it didn't look official, but Karen shouted over him, demanding action. My wife finally set down the hose, water dripping onto the grass. And when asked if she knew about the fines, she calmly replied, "Yes, I know, but I'm not paying it." Karen gasped in triumph, demanding her arrest, too. But then everything changed when the officer asked my wife's last name, and his face froze at her reply. "Judge, you live here?" He stammered, and the whole street fell silent. Karen's smirk cracked, neighbors leaned closer, and the officer's posture shifted from casual to respectful, realizing he had stepped into something much bigger. My wife's tone turned to steel as she asked if Karen wanted her arrested, or if they should start with Karen for filing false claims. And the crowd buzzed as the officer glared at Karen. Desperate, Karen doubled down, shouting that she was the only one keeping order in the community. Waving the paper around until the officer held it up to the light and revealed the signature was hers. The crowd gasped and laughed, and Karen stammered that she represented the board. But before she could recover, a tall officer stepped out of a newly arrived SUV, greeted my wife as Judge Reynolds, and instantly shifted the balance. He apologized for the disturbance and turned his sharp attention to Karen, questioning her false HOA complaint. But instead of backing down, she snapped, calling herself the HOA president and claiming without her the neighborhood would collapse. Then she tried one last move, signaling a tow truck waiting at the end of the street to take my truck, and when the hook clamped onto the wheel, my young son cried out from the porch, "Dad, that's all we have," breaking the crowd's hearts. The officer shouted for the driver to stop, but Karen screamed over him, declaring the truck gone and mocking us with laughter. And for a moment, even the police looked unsure. That was when my wife stepped forward, her voice cutting like a blade, asking Karen if she really wanted to find out who she had just tried to steal from, and the tow driver froze, uneasy. Karen barked at him to obey, but then my wife calmly pulled a leather folder from her handbag, flipped it open, and held up a golden seal that glimmered in the sunlight. The tall officer stiffened, recognizing it instantly. A federal court ID. Gasps rippled through the neighbors as my wife revealed she was not just a judge, but a United States District Judge, and the officer immediately lowered his head in respect. Karen, trembling, shouted that it was fake and snatched the folder from my wife's hands, flipping through the documents in panic, insisting it couldn't be real. But the officer barked at her to put it down, warning that stealing federal credentials was a serious crime. My wife leaned in close and whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear that impersonating authority was bad. But stealing federal documents was worse. It was a federal offense. Karen's face drained white. The crowd jeered, phones lifted higher, and the officer's hand hovered near his cuffs, as Karen stammered excuses, realizing too late. She had gone from self-proclaimed HOA enforcer to a criminal about to be arrested in front of the entire neighborhood.